Like many people, we at Breakingviews we're still marveling at Apple's $550 billion market value. And even though the company is still trading at only about 12 times earnings, some skeptics have come out of the woodwork a little bit in the last month or so. The shares went down about 13% over a stretch in April. So we decided to kind of give the skeptics their due and kind of put some dark or damp expectations on Apple and see what that means. And Richard, you've built a little calculator on this.
Yeah.
And what do we learn?
I mean, obviously there are two ways of looking at this, right? One is, well, if you think Apple's growth can continue, it's actually quite easy to justify a $1 trillion valuation.
Right.
But we wanted, as you say, we wanted to look at the other side, which is, well, what if the skeptics are right? What if revenue growth really slows down? Last year, from the year before, was 66% revenue growth, 90+%.
Bottom line almost doubled.
Yeah, profit margins, 25% roughly. I mean, most companies would kill for that. So the skeptics think, well, you know, growth is going to slow because you can't keep pumping out new iPads that everyone wants to buy. And
margins will get squeezed.
Margins will get squeezed by Samsung or whoever else you think is making decent, you know, smartphones and everything else. So we said, okay, 2016, let's say. So revenue growth slows from 50% this year to 10% in 2016.
Right.
And it slows quicker at the beginning than at the end.
Right, and the margins
and the margin
compressed.
gets crunched down to 15% from 25.
And what do we find?
And we find that, you know, today the company's worth $550 billion. If you attach a normal company PE, which ironically is higher than the one today, but if you know, by then, if growth is slower, you'd think Apple's more of a normal company.
Right.
Attach to 15 times Standard & Poor's PE, this company's worth $720 billion. So shareholders, even in those circumstances, if people stop marveling at Apple by then and think it's an ordinary company,
it's still worth
they're
quite
still
a bit
going to be
more
30% richer than they are today.
Even that's unrealistic, because you think about it, how much cash does Apple have? It has $100 billion in net cash.
Yeah.
Right.
The average S&P company has debt. So, you know, this is.
So even factoring in the bad stuff, you're saying there's even still more there that isn't even being.
Exactly. This is like, you know, taking like a person who's starving and being like, well, you know, you can do this, but it's actually it's you know it's sorry, it's a false analogy, but it's just ridiculously.
And they're going to start paying a dividend.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not a lot, but there is some money going back to shareholders, even in that.
I think what we have here is it's a large number thing, right? It's really hard based on even slightly slowing trends to see Apple not being undervalued right now, and then on really what ought to be bad trends for a company like this, it's still undervalued, but it's just huge. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard for people to get that. And the cash is held in odd ways. It doesn't appear in the same ways on the balance sheet as for some other people. You know, it's
a lot of it's just investors just can't get their minds around a company can be this big. And you know, typically big companies don't grow as fast as small companies. But in this case, it is. And another good rule of thumb is that when something's going, it usually keeps on going. And in this case, there's
what's sort of like the? I mean, we've kind of taken the dark view of it. There's the bullish view. I mean, it looks like there's where do you come down? We're still looking at $1 trillion, right? I mean, on
easy.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it there, and we'll be back with more Breaking Views tomorrow.